Hello, dear She's. How's everyone feeling today? So today is really exciting because we're going to have a very first conversation of a series of conversation with our He for She ambassadors, and this will be a chat with our very first He for She ambassador, Kevin Chung, which is he's going to have a chat with Laura. And if you're curious about why we have He for She ambassadors in the first place, well, Laura is going to share more. So please help me to welcome Kevin and Laura.
Hello.
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 Okay, I shall leave the two of you to it. Have fun.
Alrighty.
Thanks, Joy. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. It's wonderful to have our He for She ambassador with me here today, Kavin. So Kavin was really our flagship He for She ambassador, all the way from International Women's Day, and now as a She Network He for She ambassador. So you might be wondering, what is a He for She ambassador, and why do we have them in She Network? Our He for She ambassadors are people whom, if needed, they give us a male perspective on things. So we believe at in She Network that it is about partnership and collaboration. It is about men and women working together to make the world more equitable, to move towards a fairer gender equality and representation. And so our He for She's are there to champion the cause of women empowerment. They are there to celebrate women alongside us and to show that we are united together in passion for this cause. So sometimes it helps to have that man's perspective, because we have different perspectives, different ways of looking at things, different ways of interacting with the world. And sometimes just being able to peek into a man's brain can be very helpful in terms of giving us some insights. So it's really great to have you with us this afternoon, Cav.
Thanks, Laura. It's certainly a privilege to lend my strengths to the She Network community.
Fantastic. So maybe you could just start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, age-wise, I'm 51, and I've been a single dad for the last 10 years plus. And my daughter, who lives with me, she's 14 years old. Career-wise, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and my latest passion is supporting Joy's effort to bless the world with her expertise. And She Network, being one of the communities that she founded together with you, is certainly a community that's close to my heart as well. And hence, I volunteered to, well, I was volunteered, both to be the
Yes,
first He for She ambassador. Yes, but willingly
fantastic.
so.
So
Yeah.
yes, I think that's one of the things that I really enjoyed getting to know you over the past year, nearly a year, has just been your passion and just your willingness to support this cause. So, what's a man doing in this women-centric space? Like, how did you get here?
Well, of course, um, being in a relationship. Yep, as a single father to a daughter, I believe that what the She Network is doing is paramount um, in contributing and making and building a world, better world where women are empowered and there's gender equality for both genders, so that in partnership together with both male and female perspectives, the better world can actually be built for the women that are growing up today. So my incentive here is really to support the She Network and the She Network community as best as I can with my male perspective, if that's helpful, in the hopes that the path forward for all women, including my daughter, will be much better than before.
Thank you for that. So, as an International Women's Day ambassador, so earlier this year we had an International Women's Day, and you were there as an
Mhm.
International Women's Day HEforSHE ambassador, and you got to share the stage with some of our other HEforSHE. What does women empowerment mean to you?
Women empowerment, it really means that women have their own unique strengths, and what they bring to the table, so to speak, is valuable, in fact, invaluable. Men also have their strengths, and a lot of times, men have different strengths and women have different strengths. But
Mm.
together, when the strengths are combined, it really becomes a very powerful force. And it would be a shame if either party were just to function independently of the other.
Mm.
So, women empower means giving women a voice, an opportunity for them to really bring their strengths to the fore and apply their strengths to be a blessing to everybody.
That's fantastic. So you've been involved along the way, so pretty much from the start of She Network. So what does that mean to you? What kind of impact have you seen through this community?
I think the unique thing about She Network is that whilst on the top layer, it is very much can be seen as a feminist movement or a community, but the holisticness of the She Network community is what really makes She Network quite different. The inclusivity that She Network has to include other feminist communities, but in this case, it also includes men who believe in supporting women empowerment as well, and who see that there's value in empowering women. So the She Network community is certainly one of the more holistic communities that I've come across. I think in that sense, especially in Asia, I think the She Network community is certainly different from many other communities, and it's has its own unique strengths and positioning in helping the women empowerment overall by including the he's.
Yeah, and I'll quote Captain Planet. When our powers combine, and I think that's really the power that we can bring together. So, as you mentioned, She Network, we do love collaborating and working with other women's networks, and with the other half of the gender. So, that's fantastic. So it really is our heart. Maybe for those of you who are in the She community group, so this group is a space just for women, but overall, She Network itself as a movement, our vision is really to be inclusive of men and women working towards women empowerment. So, what do you think are the benefits being a HEforSHE? What are the benefits of having a HEforSHE and a male perspective available within this space?
Okay, at the risk of going into certain stereotypes of men and women, I think the reality is men are just programmed differently to some extent, and women are also programmed differently. So one would say that men generally are less emotional, more logical, and women tend to be more emotional, and perhaps the stereotype goes that they are less logical. Of, of course, stereotypes are not certainly something that should be taken as is. There are always exceptions to the rule. But I think for men, because we tend to be more cerebral, and we can sometimes disassociate our emotions from our thought processes, we tend to lean towards finding solutions faster, much faster than, say, talking at length about the situation. So sometimes, in certain unique situations, a solution based approach is probably more valuable or much needed, and that's perhaps where a man can actually lend his strengths in that area. Yeah.
And I think there is that sense. I think sometimes when we are talking about relationships, even interpersonal communication, as you said, it's not always about stereotypes, but it's about different perspectives and how people process the world differently. And sometimes
Yes.
maybe you want someone who, is a bit more of like a shoulder to cry on, and sometimes you want someone who's, a little bit more direct, and just head straight to, okay, how do I help you, problem solving mode. And so I think getting those different perspectives is actually very helpful within this community, being able to hear almost from the other side of the coin. So
Yes, spot
speaking of
on.
which, earlier you mentioned that you do have now a teenage daughter, which I'm sure will be an interesting journey in the years to come. But I thought I'd find out from you, what are some of the challenges that you faced as a single father, especially maybe when your daughter was younger and you were raising her on your own?
Yes, I think the real challenge here is having to wear two hats, that of a mother and that of a father. But um, I actually naturally wear a father's hat better than I do a mother's hat. Um, so along the way, when I say I have to wear a mother's hat, I really have to get in touch with my feelings. I really need to be able to empathize with my daughter at an emotional level, to be both a nurturer as well as a leader or a coach for her, or a role model. So the role model part, the commanding aspects of being a parent was easier for me, more natural, because maybe perhaps being a guy, I insist on certain things being done, and I don't care about feelings. But when I have to wear the motherly hat, so to speak, I really have to be mindful of her feelings and also be mindful of my own feelings. And my approach tends to be more affectionate, as opposed to the stereotypical strong silent type father. I actually choose and have to choose purposefully to be more communicative, despite the challenges of actually naturally wanting to be strong, silent, and perhaps fierce. So that actually was quite challenging to keep that balance between the two. And doing that for almost 10 years now, I think that's a lot of good training there as well.
Yeah, it sounds like you've kind of developed a lot more emotional sensitivity, perhaps just from this entire experience of being the sole parent in that situation. So, what would you say are some of your concerns for your daughter, like just in today's world as she's growing up, as she faces the future?
Um, I think the same challenges that exist today are probably going to be the same challenges that she will face, hopefully to a much lesser degree, as communities like the She Network and other women empowerment initiatives throughout the world grow stronger and gain more momentum and really start being more integrated into society. Um, because generally the world led by men tends to be very much more egocentric, if I may use that term, and it's all about ego and glorification of the self. It's not as nurturing or as edifying as how most women are actually wired, and the value that many women bring to the world is to compensate for the over application of men's strengths in some areas, and moderating those strengths so that women's strengths also are attenuated and accentuated and come to the fore, to strike a balance so that the world is much more equitable to both parties, and as a planet, the world becomes more cared for. It's not so much about ego versus ego, but a more holistic approach. And I think women empowerment brings that aspect. So for me, I like to see my daughter uh, be part of communities like the She Network, and make that difference and to have that freedom to apply her strengths fully, regardless of whatever society may dictate in terms of men's role and women's role, and perhaps some of the biasness that will may still persist at that time.
I think as you're speaking, what comes to mind is, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I think in a in a world where there's been, like as you said, a lot of masculine energy in terms of leadership, that's been the approach that's been applied almost across the board. Whereas I think there's this, as you mentioned, the complementary strengths of sometimes you almost need a more feminine kind of energy, and as you bring those together, you actually get the best of both. You expand the tool set that you get.
Oops, I think we have internet situation with Laura. Let's wait for Laura to come back. Hi, Laura.
Yeah, I'm
You're back.
Sorry. Yes, just had a moment, blackout.
Yep.
So, so thank you for sharing that. And so, like I said, I was just talking about the complementary energies. So, as we look forward into the future, a hopefully much brighter and better and more equitable future, what do you think it would look like as women step more into their strengths, and if the world was more equitable? Like, what are some of your dreams and aspirations for your daughter's future?
I think the most important thing is the freedom given to women to truly be their best selves, because then every woman is able to apply her fullest potential, and they are not hampered by biasness, by stereotypes or male chauvinist uh, views of how a woman should be, but that a woman is truly free to be herself and lend her strengths to the world that truly needs more women to be empowered. So, a world that has more women empowered certainly will be a much better world to live in. There will be just a lot more holistic well-being for the world. I think that will be the key thing.
And it's encouraging to have people like you working towards that future, and I think just sharing that sense of what the future could look like. So who would you say are some women leaders maybe that you admire and respect, and why?
Okay, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda, she is one of those that I think are contemporary, uh, powerful. She is, I think, choosing to be authentic in her choice of leadership as a woman and as a leader in a very masculine world, or in a very usually masculine role. And she's doing a great job at it, because I think for me, when I'm observing her, I think her authenticity is refreshing. She is smart, she is caring, and she chooses to make it known that she cares. And she makes it a point to drive home the fact that she is a woman who cares. And I think that makes a big difference in terms of how the world perceives a woman leader, especially one who's a prime minister. There's also Malala, and Malala nearly lost her life when the terrorists wanted to wipe her out, kill her, because she was a proponent for education for women. And the striking courage that she had, and and the blessings of actually being alive to continue building and that legacy of empowering women, it's really quite striking for me. And the third role model that I got to appreciate more actually when Joy and I recently watched a little bit of an autobiography of her was and is Michelle Obama. You know, she truly um, lent her strengths during the presidency of Obama, and she didn't overshadow him, but she certainly came across as a peer, as a wife, and a supportive partner to his efforts as a president of the United States. She did it vocally, she did it quietly, but certainly what was significant was that she lent her strengths and she wasn't shy to be who she was. And again, authenticity there was quite striking for me.
Thank you. Those are some fantastic examples, especially of women leadership in today's world. And it's incredible to see just even the richness and the diversity of their backgrounds and just how they are able to navigate their different situations, their different backgrounds, whether it's like, social, economic, political situations that they've been able to navigate. And especially, of course, the New Zealand Prime Minister at this point, navigating through this crisis and being able to handle that situation well, I think has really, I think, been a great role model and a great example to lots of young women around the world of what's possible. I think it's so important to see those examples and have those role models of seeing the possibilities. And I know we have a lot of very strong, powerful, influential women in this community, in the She Network. What would you say, Kavin, maybe to some of the women who might struggle to embrace that identity?
I think everybody struggles at different levels, and for women who are struggling to embrace an empowered woman's identity, I would say and advise them to look at role models within the community. And every woman in the community will have their own unique strengths. And as they get to know other members in the community, I think I would recommend that they look at each woman's strengths, appreciate their uniqueness, and perhaps find means and ways to engage with the members and seek help. I think the most important thing is the safety that the She community strives to build to allow other women to ask for help. I think asking for help is certainly a very important first step, and everybody would do well to have that freedom and to give themselves permission to ask for help.
Thank you. Very wise words from our HEforSHE ambassador. I think that it really starts with that sense of community and being able to see the people around you and not compare yourself unfavorably with them, but really to be able to embrace and to leverage each other's strengths to grow and to encourage one another. And so that's why even throughout the week, every week we do welcome our new members. We invite you to tell us a little bit about yourself, tell us about your strengths, your background, so that we know who's in the community. Other people get to know you as well. And so that way we can continue to support and encourage each other as we get to know each other and travel this journey. So thank you so much, Kavin, for just being with us on this call. I'm looking forward to hearing more from you. And I invite the women of She Network, the women and the men of She Network. We will be having more conversations with our HEforSHE ambassadors in the coming weeks. So we'll have both Mervyn and Elil in the weeks to come. And I'm sure we'll have a lot more interesting conversations as well with Kavin.
Indeed.
So we invite you to submit questions. Maybe if you have different questions or different topics that you'd like us to talk to you about, and maybe just share those different perspectives and hear from our HEforSHE ambassadors. We'd love to hear your opinions and maybe some of your thoughts and takeaways out of this conversation. So as we close, I'd also like to share about the upcoming Body, Mind, Spirit Festival that we will be having under HE Network. So in conjunction with Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October, as well as World Mental Health Day on the 10th and 11th of October, we'll be holding the Body, Mind, Spirit Festival for HE. So we have a range of workshops and panels lined up, very exciting developments that are coming your way. So please do register, sign up. So the goal of this is to raise funds, raise awareness for breast cancer, and all proceeds of ticket purchases will be going towards the breast cancer awareness. So please do support us. We look forward to having you join us for the Body, Mind, Spirit Festival on October 10th and 11th as we raise awareness of breast cancer and mental health and well-being. So as you know, at HE, happiness, well-being is one of our key pillars: strength, happiness, and empowerment. So well-being is a key part of that. And October, breast cancer awareness is one of the key months in terms of women's well-being, women's health. So we'd love for you to partner and join us for that. So looking forward to connecting with you again soon, Kavin. Let's
Likewise.
end with our Wonder Woman pose.
Ha!
Thank you, Kavin. Have a great
Thanks,
day, everyone,
Laura.
and talk to you soon. Bye.
Yes. Bye.